everyone, Emily Andersen. I'm working at Fletcher International Exports. I was a grad for them last year and have now moved into a production coordinator role. It's a pleasure to be here today to discuss a topic that I feel quite passionate about, and that's the future of Australian sheep industry and how we can grow demand for our lamb and mutton, specifically looking at factors beyond the traditional focus on the box price. I think competing on price alone isn't a strategy for growth. Instead, the opportunity lies in moving up the value chain through a product innovation, channel strategies, branding, and strong customer relationships, which all leads to value adding. So let's kick off with our reality, and that's that Asian markets are highly price sensitive and incredibly competitive. Australian lamb and mutton are competing on not only against other exporters like New Zealand, but also against a wide range of proteins and local product. In addition, we have an aging population in both China and Japan, with a younger generation that have either not grown up with eating lamb or mutton, don't know how to cook it, or have had a bad eating experience and now believe the product has a bad taste, bad smell. So China's key demand drivers are affordable, large volumes, whilst Japan pays for a premium quality product and for the experience. So right away, we are dealing with two very different types of demand. The challenge and the opportunity here is to navigate both successfully. Of course, that's easier said than done. So moving beyond the box price, traditionally success in export markets has been judged by this box price, with frequent feedback from customers saying, oh no, too expensive, or can we buy for less? I believe that this thought is outdated because the value of product is further determined after it leaves the box, how it performs whilst cooking, presented on the plate, and of course the eating quality. Factors altering the consumer experience include how it's cut, where it's sold, how it's marketed. Does it actually meet the needs of the end consumer? This value is continuously backed up by research around eating quality. People have looked at things like pH decline, time and layerage, IMF, the age of the animal, cooking styles, etc. The list goes on. But this research is what is challenging our processes to pivot, evolve, and invest now to then create better value for later. In training consumers to invest in a better eating experience, we are hopefully influencing repeated purchasing behaviours. In Asian markets, the same cut of lamb or mutton can perform very differently depending on its end use. Whether it's food service or retail, is it going to be sliced, marinated, portioned and packed, or is it branded? So the question is, how do we then gain more value beyond the box? In China, consumption is heavily influenced by the hot pot culture, barbecue chains. We have e-commerce retail, also further value adding and manufacturing facilities. This creates demand for a large range of products, moving to specific cuts rather than whole carcasses or the large primal cuts that we are seeing. Examples we saw in supermarkets while on our trip and in restaurants were like the thinly sliced rolls for hot pot that we see a picture of, skewered and marinated lamb or mutton for barbecue, and also the pre-portioned packs for online retail. If Australian exporters continue to just ship standard cuts and expect the same market to adapt, we will lose to our competitors. But if we value add to our products for specific channels, we can increase yield value by reducing wastage down the supply chain, reduce processing costs for our customers, and differentiate from our competitors. This is where I think the true value lies, and where Australian lamb and mutton has an edge. The ongoing challenge of what can we do different, where can we look next, and looking to our competitors to see where we can beat them in the market. In Japan, our value added looks a little different. The market is more precise, they look more at portion control, and of course the reliable eating quality. You can see in my picture with the mutton backstrap, exceptional presentation and packaging is key. In supermarkets, it was unreal the amount of packaging we saw, and it was something that I personally thought was a bit of an overkill. However, it was their culture and something that we were told isn't going to change. So the consumers and chefs in Japan expect these uniform cuts that we saw and clean trimming, consistent flavour and tenderness. Here, the value add is not just about the convenience of the product or the cheapness of the product, it's about the precision and I suppose somewhat the perfection of it. So now I'm looking at the channel strategies and selling where value is created. Not all customers are equal and not all channels deliver the same value. China's market is quite complex, but after our trip and visiting many different businesses, it's full of opportunity. They have the large hot pot chains, expanding quick service restaurants, premium supermarkets, and the rapidly growing e-commerce platforms like we visited at Ding Dong Fresh. In Japan, key channels included the high-end food service, we had retail chains, other importers, distributors, and the value-adding facilities. Whilst on our trip, we also visited the embassy in Japan. The feedback from there was to keep finger on the pulse, be here, communicate, and that presence really does matter. Over a plethora of conversations and listening into customers, it was made out that you don't just sell into Japan, you have to build a presence over time. They're a market that doesn't want to be turned to when others pull out and want to be treated as a priority. So by contrast, to me, success in Japan depends on long-term partnerships, trust and reliability, having a deep understanding of the customer requirements, and the willingness to work with them to produce exactly what is needed. Right now, we are seeing a strong shift toward lean proteins, smaller portion sizes, whether it's driven by the GLP-1 uptake, changing household dynamics, or a broader societal push for wellness, a balanced wellness lifestyle. Processors need to be looking ahead of these trends and not reacting. The opportunity is in identifying the channel trends early and backing them up before the market catches up. All channels value something different, whether it's the volume, convenience, visual appeal, packaging, storytelling, list is endless. But none of this will matter without consistent supply. That's the foundation. Without it, the extra effort and investment into value adding will just fall apart. Looking after customers is critical for repeat sales, but it's even more important that the value flows back to the farm gate. That's what keeps the farmers in the industry, supports the Australian flock, and ensures there's actually product to sell at the end. So to grow demand for Australian lamb, exporters must strategically choose these channels and not just sell into whichever market is paying the best price. Brand and storytelling. So on our trip, we saw many different advertisements, different ways of marketing, and you can see in a couple of pictures, I've got the Bass Strait Angus Pure at a butcher we went to or value adding facility we went to in Indonesia, and they advertise brands like art. It was framed, it was all very well presented, it was beautiful. You see here I have a US beef advertisement. They had stickers all over their frozen area. Our true Aussie beef plaques and a TV above the frozen section. And then, of course, the billboards, which we saw Harriet last week. Something I never thought to pitch to anyone, but what an opportunity to say, why not? Why not market something completely different to a different audience? Also, during this trip, it became quite clear that Australian processors are either yay or nay to individual brand and storytelling. Some do it well, others do nothing at all. I think as an industry, we maybe are underutilizing this strategy and could create better brand uniformity. In saying this, I understand that there's a fine line between all the fluffy and extra unrealistic versus the genuine actually backed up by the product being served. But if Australian lamb and mutton are perceived as just commodities, then price will always dominate. If they are understood as the premium, luxe, safe, consistent, authentic, traceable, the brand that we've created for ourselves, then the value will follow. Japan is already quite a brand orientated market and understands the value of it. So provenance matters, production systems matter, and eating quality matters. It was often asked to people from processors, can we come and visit? Can we see from your fine gate through your plants? And then, of course, on their end of the supply chain, the story for them really does matter, and they do want to sell it to their customers. This is where Australian lamb already has quite a strong reputation, and I believe mutton can follow suit as well. In Japan, storytelling is not just an option to remain competitive. So, customer relationships. Asia has lots of cultural sensitivities that play a huge role, and it's important to be aware of this when building relationships because they really do matter. This point was continually reiterated to us throughout our entire trip. The strong customer relationships enable better market insights, more stable demand, joint product development, and reduced price volatility. Creating these relationships, you can take the opportunity to work with a restaurant to tailor to their application. You could collaborate with the e-commerce retailers on packaging or pack size and assist with the actual uptake of these sizes in retail stores and help with the consumer uplift. We could also support the customers with the marketing of our brands, suggestions on how to cook. We saw some QR codes on packaging while we were there, which I thought was quite a fantastic idea in sharing recipes and ways to cook to uplift demand and maybe buying of the product. In doing these extra steps for customers, you create a relationship that goes beyond transactional, which is what will drive the long-term demand growth. So now the challenge for us is how do we balance premium positioning with cost efficiency? Keeping in mind we are trying to increase demand in price-sensitive markets by implementing all things discussed, value-adding, branding, relationships. It all, of course, comes back to an extra cost. So I've sectioned out 3 kind of pillars, I suppose, of areas we could look into. Supply chain efficiency, looking at our carcass utilization, aligning cuts with the market demand, and reducing wastage. Market segmentation. I think sometimes we may get bogged down in pushing a premium luxe high-end product, which is fantastic, great. We need to get the value for that. But also remember there's a large middle class that we also need to cater towards. So also shine a light on our mid-range cuts. Maybe this could be an opportunity where we could have value-adding opportunities and also don't forget about our mutton too. And my third pillar was the scale through focus. Look at your key channels, analyze where you want to increase your output with specific customers, and of course, deliver a consistent product time and time again. So what does success look like? The path forward from here to grow demand for Australian lamb and mutton will not come from chasing higher box prices. Yes, I understand it helps. However, I think it will come from designing products for specific markets and channels, investing in relationships with these key customers, building the brands that resonate with consumers, and balancing premium positioning with operational efficiency. I may be biased, but Australia truly does produce the best lamb and mutton in the world. But unfortunately, producing a great product is no longer enough. So, to truly grow demand, we must think beyond the box, engage beyond the transaction, and deliver value beyond the price. In markets like China and Japan, Australian product won't be successful because it's the cheapest. It will be because we create the most value. And while I'm wrapping up, I just want to say a huge thank you for this opportunity and to have gone on this trip and met all these amazing people. It was unreal. Thank you to our sponsors as well.